Broadsword calling Danny boy.
Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now, another quick game of interplanetary I Spy going on here. Back at the Dingo Gap, I'll have the official link to this, which is from the NASA website, which is here. And if you're going to download this image, the one you want is the TIFF image, which is 17.4 megabytes. Now, this was taken just over a year ago by the Curiosity. And I've spotted some more strange anomalies. I did cover this a couple of days ago in one of my videos, which is up here, Mars Temple Building. And I pointed out in that video that there is a building here, and there's also lots of people have found, there's lots of statues and carved artifacts in the area, kind of scattered around in this part of the image here. Now I've got it up in the Gigapan, Sol 528, so if you're on the Gigapan site, that's all you have to type in is Sol 528 and then press the search button, and this will come up. I think there are different versions of it, but this is one of the versions that I got. And you can clearly see here in the foreground a lovely curved sand dune, which is separating the right and left parts of this small valley here, which is where the rover drove through. Now the rover, after this image was taken, or this set of images was taken, drove through on the right of this sand dune, on the left of this sand dune, and then kind of drove round, and then took a load more photographs from down there, and then carried on round and took some more further down, and kind of veered off to the left. So it kind of went round this corner here. Okay, so now I was doing some image comparisons the other day when I was making that video, and something struck me which I didn't put in that video, so I'm doing a quick update on this, as well as showing you some other things that are nearby. Now when you look at this, look up PIA 17766, which is the one we want, you get lots of image clips coming up, and you'll see the bell thing here. Lots of people have spotted this. I don't think anyone else has called it a bell, as far as I know. Lots of people call it a machine or some kind of artifact. It's obviously something intelligently made, as it has a handle on it. I'll quickly show you. Let me get the image up here. Here's the bell. Now here's the clip I took. Now it's a terrible quality image for this one for some reason. It's been obfuscated really, I think, by NASA, and also this thing's quite a way off from the camera. So when you zoom in, it doesn't get any clearer. But what I've done here, I've just selected it and brightened it a bit and changed the contrast a bit so you can see it. And it clearly has a handle on the top and is bell shaped. So that's why I called it the bell. I'm not sure if anyone else has, I don't really know. But there we are. It doesn't get any better than that when you zoom in. In fact, it looks slightly better when you zoom out a bit. You can see the shape better. But it's a terrible quality part of the image, that. And I was looking all over the place for better quality versions of it, and there don't seem to be very many around or available. So we won't look at that too long, but I do have some other images up here. Now, this is that Dingo Gap image, which I just showed you in the Gigapan. Up here, there it is. And you've got this nice long curve here, which I pointed out. This curve goes right from that side of the valley, right across, and it goes off the screen here, but it does go right across. And there's a very long swept curve. Now, when the rover drove over this sand dune, as I explained a minute ago, it took some more photographs from the other side, looking back, which I have here. Now, let me find it. I have it here somewhere. Here we go. Now that's zoomed in, and let's zoom back out a bit. So you can see here where it's the previous set of images were taken from over here. Now it's driven around this corner of this side of the valley, and is now looking back at its own tracks as it came over the sand dune. And something occurred to me, and I don't know if anyone else has pointed this out, but although the sand looked natural in that photograph, in this one it looks completely artificial. And in fact, if you look at this line from where this track is here, where my cursor is, and then follow it up to the far left corner, up here, it's completely straight, as if it's been drawn in with a ruler, or this has been masked and copied and pasted the sand from another area. So now, to demonstrate how straight this is, I'll zoom in a bit more. Look at this straight line here as it goes down. It goes right down until it gets to this track here, and then it's another straight line here, which is also extremely straight, and then a sort of a straight line with a bit of a curve here. Now, that one may be real, don't know. This one looks artificial, this line here. You won't see it very well in this image. I'll show you a negative of it in a second. But this one, this line here, from that track there, right up to there, is absolutely straight, as if this is completely fake. Now, let me show you this image. I've got it up here. Now, what I did with this is I rotated the image. You can see the tracks in white here. I've rotated it to the left, and I've also turned it negative so that you can see the line clearer. And you can clearly see when you zoom in that this line here is absolutely ruler straight. And in fact, if I zoom in close enough and move it up to the top of the toolbar here, it lines up absolutely perfectly. And you can see there's absolutely no deviation at all, and hardly any deviation at all. In fact, if I rotated it slightly more accurately by sort of half a degree or something, then it would actually line up perfectly right up to this point here. So you can actually see where, if you look at the dark line, that line is completely straight. How is that possible? When only the day before, on the previous sol, this was not straight. This was curved. That should curve up. It should not be ruler straight at all. Now that was, to me, I thought was fairly convincing that there's been some kind of photoshopping going on here, and some of these things look like they've been blurred out a bit just here. Let's have a look at the other non-negative version of that again and take a closer look. Now there's the curve. Now this is the day before, when it was magically completely different. Now what's happened there? Has the sand suddenly shifted and suddenly become very flat? I don't think so. This to me looks like evidence of fakery by NASA, and I think perhaps what they may have done, as there are so many statue artifacts here and carved artifacts in this area. This is the famous one that everyone published. A stunning bit of Martian artwork there, lovely bit of carving. There's lots of other pieces here as well, loads of other carved artifacts. I'm wondering whether there was something really, really clear just here, perhaps the other half of this one, or perhaps another statue, or something down here which they didn't want us to see. And it may have been very, very obvious in the image from this angle the next day, so they pasted over it. And it's easily done. All they would have to do was copy an area, a patch of this sand here, and then paste it over this area. So that would be quite easy to do. And that straight line at the top here is a giveaway to me. It's just too straight. It doesn't look real. There are some other interesting things in this image as well. I think I've got them in my folder here. But we'll have a look at this one. This is the non-negative. And it looks kind of real when you look at it until you get in close. And this line here just looks like it's been blurred out and obfuscated. And this line going up here looks definitely, to me, looks artificial, where they've tried to cover something up. And I do think maybe perhaps that there is something in this sand that they didn't want us to see. Just here, probably. Let's see how the sand changes colour from this area to this area here. It kind of suddenly changes colour. It goes sort of more blue here. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right at all. Now, if you look at this sand here, it's all pretty much the same colour and the same tone. I'm not saying this isn't fake. This whole part of the image could have been masked and copied and pasted from another image. it just doesn't look right to me. And interestingly enough, there is in the background, which I only noticed at the last minute, there seems to be a small pyramid or some kind of structure here, just here. You see it. Now I've got this up in one of my folders here, and I've got some enhancements I've done of some of these things. Pyramid structures. There we go. Here's that Dingo Gap image I just showed you. Now I took these from one of the smaller JPEG images, so the quality isn't brilliant, but I'll show you them anyway, and I'll flick through. There's that potential pyramid there, and I'll flick through these quickly. There it is again, darkened, just here, just there. And there it is in negative to make it even more obvious. It may not be, it may just be the angle we're at. It could be just part of the mountain or hill in the background or whatever it is. But I just thought that I'd throw that in anyway. It's not really close enough to determine whether it is or not. There's not enough detail. But there do seem to be some remarkably symmetrical looking structures in some of these backgrounds. Around Mount Sharp especially, and even around the edge of the crater. They're all over the place. There's lots of strange dome-like structures. There's buildings, there are boats, there are what look like crashed aircraft and bits of wreckage at the bottom of Mount Sharp. I mean, there are structures all over the place. And if you look at some of my previous videos, you'll see there's plenty of evidence for this. And the statues, especially in buildings, and this is the building I covered in the previous video. But one thing I didn't show you in any detail was this guy on top, just here. There is what looks like another statue, and this has been kind of overlooked by most people. They were mainly concentrating on the building and didn't take any notice of this guy. And this is one of about 4 or 5 statues in this particular area by the Dingo Gap. And this to me looks like a carved helmet of some kind of statue, which looks remarkably like Batman. When you see the comparison coming up, I'll just pause that a sec. Now pay particular attention to this eye area here. Now this is what looks like a nose here, and this is like a brow ridge at the top, and this dark bit here is an eye, and this reflective part here looks like part of the helmet design that has caught the light and is reflecting. And when I play the enhancement, you will see the comparison coming up now. Now there are lots of other statues in this area. This one seems quite different to the others in style, and maybe from a very different period. Now pay attention to this reflective part of the just above the cheekbone there, near the eye socket area. Okay, just here. I'll play that through, and it will compare them for you. There we go. See the highlight? Now I don't know if you guys can see that. It's not a brilliant quality image, that one. And had I done this video more recently, I would have gotten rid of some of the pixelation a bit more. But that's that one anyway. That's well worth a look. The Mars Alien Statue Helmet on Building Foundations, that was called. That's one I did about a year ago. So there's that one. There's also this one. You may well have seen. This is a bit further away from the Dingo Gap area, but not that far away. Probably less than 200 meters away, and is near what looks like a burial mound, and is what seems to be some kind of grave artifact or statue part ahead of some kind of statue. It could even be an ornate gravestone. I really don't know, but there are lots and lots of burial items in this area, and small statuettes stood in the sand, and also quite large carved statue heads. I've even found a foot. I found all manner of statue parts lying around, and this may be related to one of those. Don't really know, because everything's scattered around. I mean, the explosion that must have happened on Mars was probably so enormous that everything was broken and scattered over quite a large area. And but I would expect many of the related items to be within 100 meters of each other, or 100 feet at least. And this may well be related. Don't really know. It seems to be a different style to the Dingo Gap carvings, which look more sort of Olmec or even Egyptian in style, you know. And this this one is really, really quite scary. And there's the raw image there, you can see. I'll let that play through a little bit. And yeah, I mean, the mouth detail here with some teeth and the sort of ghostly look to it is really, really quite weird. And I did get this published in a few newspapers and on a whole bunch of websites, and they were saying, is it actually a head, an alien's head? But I don't think it is. I think it's carved, because if you look carefully here, it has a beveled edge, which to me looks like it's carved. But I mean, I could be wrong. I really don't know with 100% assurance. I'm sure it's a head, but whether it's carved or not is down to interpretation. And this edge here, to me, kind of looks like it's been carved, and it's beveled. So I would go with a carving. But not everything on Mars is carved. Just because a lot of things that have been found recently look carved doesn't mean that everything else is. Now, I did mention the bell earlier, which I showed you. Now, this circular structure here, I actually think this thing here, which is right at the Dingo Gap area, lots of people have published this and tried to work out what it is. I've got a feeling that could be the remains of or foundations of a ruined bell tower. And the fact that it's only meters away from this bell object in this image, just before this one on the Gigapan, this is the one after that. It doesn't show in this image. This is where all the statues are. You've got to go back to the previous image here to see that circular thing. Now I think I've got that up in my folder here. I'm trying not to get lost here. I've got so much stuff up here that I'm trying to compare. And yeah, there we go. Here's the circular thing here, and I've just enhanced that a tiny bit and got rid of the pixelation there. And it to me, now it's not very big. It's probably only a couple of meters, or it could be only be a few feet across. It could be 6 feet across. Couldn't tell you exactly. But it's not huge, and it's not tiny either. It's kind of in between. I'd say a few feet, at least a few feet across. Now that's wide enough for a small bell tower. There could have been a small bell tower here, and the bell, which is this guy here, could have been strung up in this little tower. Who knows? Because there are other buildings that look like some kind of temple nearby, which I covered in my previous video. So I'm doing a bit more detective work here, trying to piece together some of this stuff. There's a comparative image of the bell, a bell. This is one from the Far East, and there's all sorts of bells here. And here's a bell tower. Bell towers can be quite narrow. This one's quite large, but who's to say that it wasn't a small bell tower? It could be really quite a small tower. I mean, this is probably what, 30 foot tall. If that was a bell tower on Mars, it could have only been 10 foot tall. Could have been 8 foot tall. Who knows? But this does look like a bell with a handle on it, and when you compare it to the other images I have here, like this one, it does look very similar, and that could have been easily strung up into a small tower. And the building in the background, which is not visible in that image, the building in the background, which I've called the temple, could have been related to it. It may well be part of the same complex. Let's go to the Gigapan and quickly look at that. Now the bell is just up here on the left of this image, out of shot, so you can't see it in this image, but it's up here on this ridge on the left, and all the statues are here on the right on this slope, and the building, which I've called the temple, is over here, and there's that statue just there, the head statue, which looks a bit like Batman. And this temple building, I actually now think, goes all the way along here, and there are all sorts of really interesting carved artifacts in the sand here, statues and parts of statues and parts of walls and even a possible fossilized dinosaur head just here, which I've done in a previous video. There's all sorts of stuff in here. it's an incredible image, really. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys. I thought that the obfuscation evidence here is quite compelling. And where is it? I can't find it now. There it is. Let's have another look at that straight line. That to me looks like NASA have tried to cover up something that was probably just lying right here, which is really right next to those statues. To me, that looks like they faked it, and we will probably never know what was here. That is the real shame of it, and so they are probably deliberately trying to hide crucial evidence. And lots of people have come to this conclusion. On the whole, I think they don't even spot a lot of these things because I don't think they're trained to spot archaeological artifacts, and this is why so many of them got through earlier on. We're not seeing anywhere near as many now in the Curiosity images because it's I think under the control of the military, and they're not letting us see the stuff that it's taking, and it's really not moving very much either, and the quality of the images is pretty terrible. So there we are. I'll put a couple of clips in. I'll put a clip of the bell and that tower foundation right at the end of the video for you. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.